Hi everybody, I'm Will F. Brooks, and I lost Battle of the Wills to Will Lafayette. Fair and square, not my fault, all TNA booking. But that's okay. I'm a man of my word, and I said if I lost, I'd cut a promo for TLDWrestling.com, and that's what I'm here to do. So please, go to TLDWrestling.com. Why? It's a fucking great question. But there's really no reason to go why, because it really sucks. It's a bunch of crap that you won't want. Like this picture right here. This picture sucks. I mean, get it only, what, if you need a jizz rag or something? You know, I don't like it. Oops. And you know what else do you want to get from here? You got like a teddy bear on there, man. It sucks. I mean, not even huggable women won't even buy it. You wouldn't even buy your little retarded niece that teddy bear. She wouldn't even want it. What else you got on it? You got a fucking, the belt, a fake belt that he created. It's not like it's cool like Zack Ryder. No, it's some crap belt that from some federation that doesn't exist. What else you want? You got this t-shirt fucking sucks. Alright, I lost. I'm Will F. Brooks, and I'm out of here.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. Join us Tuesdays on Blog Talk Radio, simulcast on Go Fight Live. blogtalkradio.com/Wrestling Roundtable. 347-857-4647 is the number to call to Roundtable Radio to share your thoughts, opinions, and questions. Rejoining the panel is Orlando and Will Brooks, and we're going to move on to the Submission Round 5 Q&A. That's right, this time Submission Round 5! We asked you to send in videos so we can see your face and hear your real name. That's what it's about here, keeping it real. So, Gerald from Mississippi is up first.
Greetings, Mr. Eric Samaria and the Wrestling Roundtable. Thanks for taking the time out to watch my video. I want to give credit where credit's due once again. Pro Wrestling Respect. I encourage everyone to go and purchase this DVD. Take a look. Something all wrestling fans should enjoy. I'll be getting the second one very soon. That being said, my question for the submission round, a fairly simple question. I want to know your favorite storylines. Let me know that. Thanks for taking the time out to watch my video, and I told you they were coming.
One of my favorite ones, I know I've mentioned a lot of different ones in the past, but the Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan build-up in 2005. I thought it was great the way Shawn turned, but I guess he's still a face after, but just the realism that it brought, I thought it was a very different way to approach a great main event. Two huge names that never had a one-on-one match, and Shawn Michaels, when he is a heel, this guy is on fire and nobody can touch him.
Sting, 96, 97, because WCW turned their back on him because he attacked Lex Luger when it was the fake NWO Sting, so he leaves, says he's a free agent, doesn't wrestle for a year and a half, even though he came out every other week. Everybody loved him, he still came out, and then he had one of the biggest buy rates ever against Hulk Hogan, and still WCW screwed it up. But I thought that was one of the best angles of all time.
You know what I love about that over-year-long angle? Sting was the most over he ever was without saying a word or wrestling one match.
I actually got two. USA vs. Canada, 1997, Hart Foundation, Bret Hart as the heel, doing phenomenally, even on the mic, was killing it in promos. The other one, Taz and Sabu going into the first ECW pay-per-view. That whole year long, where they actually had legitimate heat because the whole Sabu ditched ECW to go to Japan because he was getting paid more money, and ECW was just spot shows at the time. Taz was calling Sabu out every time on ECW. He's like, Sabu, where are you? I'm going to kill you when I see you. And then the lights go out and Sabu shows up. You're like, oh, shit.
But then the lights went out again when they were going towards each other. They saved it for the pay-per-view, and that was pretty smart.
And Taz went over clean, which is, you never think about a big like that. No one goes over clean.
I've ended up, coming out as a face.
I've mentioned NWO 1,000 times, so I won't retread that. But I'll just go with Bret and Owen from 1994. I just loved the classic sibling rivalry, Cain and Abel sort of thing, where Owen was jealous, and it really was a situation, as most classical ones are, where if you liked the heel, you felt justified too. I thought it was a really good angle in the sense that it involved other people. It took different twists and turns, as we saw with Bob Backlund, and it ended up coming full circle with the reformation of the Hart Foundation.
Great feuds always involve more people.
Mm-hmm. Tom from Levittown, you're up next.
Look into the crystal ball. Look to the future. Eventually, UFC will swallow up Strikeforce. Out of all the Strikeforce fighters that are still left in Strikeforce, King Mo, Aoki, and Cormier, who do you think will have the most impact in the UFC if they go to UFC? Thank you, Tom from Levittown.
Well, Tom, the first answer that comes to my mind is King Mo. I think he's a great addition to the light heavyweight division. He has phenomenal wrestling. He trains with Rashad Evans. He trains with a lot of guys. I feel like once his striking gets up there, I mean, this guy has maybe 7 or 8 professional MMA fights. I think he could really do well and be top 5, top 6 in UFC.
Really? Because I couldn't see that. I don't see him being in the elite of UFC's light
I can
heavyweights.
see it. Give it a year or two. I can see
Okay.
it.
Daniel Cormier from the Strikeforce heavyweight division. I mean, the UFC heavyweight division is pretty stacked, but this guy has great credentials. He's an Olympic wrestler. He trains with Cain Velasquez. He's great with his stand-up. He's 8-0. He knocks people out.
Just knocked out Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah, and we still haven't even got to see him actually use his wrestling in the cage. So I think he'd be a great addition.
The biggest impact I would see is Cyborg Santos.
Yes.
Once you get her in the behind the UFC backing and like promotion, holy crap, she'll
I
be.
must have missed the women's division match.
Yeah.
They'll get one just for Cyborg.
I must have
And
missed
now,
the women's
there's some women
title
coming up
match.
now. Who's that woman?
I must have missed it.
Hold on. See, that's the thing. They don't have one, of course. But if they brought Cyborg over, she is the #1 in women's MMA.
And Gina Carano. If you're gonna say that, then Gina Carano.
That doesn't. She's not even
She
fighting
hasn't
yet.
fought in like 2
But
years.
but when she does, she's still part of Strikeforce.
She didn't beat fucking
She's
Cyborg,
still-
and that's
doesn't
what counts.
matter.
The
She's
rematch,
still
would be,
big in
the
trouble.
rematch would be money if Gina
She's
gets back
still,
in the cage.
she's still big. She's still big. If she was on the card tonight, then she would be the main event.
Well, Cyborg, I think, is a good person to build the division around to introduce women's MMA to UFC. And there's a lot of other great ones. Ronda Rousey, you mentioned, Miesha Tate. But I think Cyborg's at the top of her game. She's like the Fedor of women's division right now, and I think she'd be a good one. But my answer would have been Josh Barnett from the heavyweight division. I know you don't like Josh Barnett, but I think, especially in his last fight, he really showed that he still has it. He's a veteran, but he's still in there, and I think he could make a big impact because he brings skills to the heavyweight division that isn't there right now.
He was there before.
Right,
Yeah,
he
he
was.
sucked ass.
He beat Randy Couture for the title. But
He sucked, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Dude,
agree with that
everyone
more
was
than
weak.
Daniel Cormier. I don't think Daniel Cormier breaks into the top 10 in UFC.
Oh, that was good when the heavyweight division was
I
so
don't think
weak,
so.
man.
I don't think Randy Couture is weak, but we're going to move on to Brandon from Waterford, Michigan.
Hello, Eric and other members of the Wrestling Roundtable. Out of the current WWE roster, who do you think would make a good tag team?
Brandon, CM Punk and The Miz. Why? Because I think it would be awesome. Them as heels, I think they'd be great on the mic. I think they would have great chemistry working against 2 other opponents, and I just think it would work.
Awesome Punk.
I think Awesome Truth were pretty good because they really didn't have anything to do. Don't you think that would take away?
I think
from
Miz and Morrison were good. I think
Right, but I
Miz
don't.
showed
But I
good.
mean, don't you think Punk is doing well enough in and of himself? Would he be saddled with a tag partner instead of helped?
I think he could help Miz too. I think he's saddle turning face.
Kurt Hawkins and Trent Beretta, I think they'd be a nice, young, cocky heel tag team. Somebody that they could throw in front of Kofi and Bourne to have a pretty decent or good match and good build-up.
Tyson Kidd and Brodus Clay. A la Owen Hart and Yokozuna from the mid-90s, how they were a great tag team.
Big and small.
Yes, and Tyson Kidd could do exactly what Owen Hart did, carry the match, and then tag in Brodus Clay, do some big man spots, and then like have them turn against each other, like, you know, Brodus falls on Kidd, just like Yoko fell
Why
on
do they have
Paul.
to end in a turn? Why
No,
does
no,
every
no,
tag
I
team
didn't-
have to
no, I
end
didn't
in
mean
a turn?
like- I didn't mean like
Can
a
we
turn.
have a tag
I
team
didn't mean
not
it
turn
like
each
I didn't mean
other?
like a turn. I meant like that's how they lose. Like they become champions. That's how they
Like,
lose
this
titles.
is the truth.
Is
Like, what
Brodus
the
falls
fuck
on
is
Kidd.
this?
I didn't mean to turn on each other. I just meant like that's how they lose.
Well, I'm going old school with my answer too, because I thought of someone maybe Christian and Brodus Clay, that sort of dynamic. Jim Neidhart, Bret Hart style, where it's the bigger guy and the smaller technical guy maybe. But I'm going Powers of Pain route with this one, because I put Ezekiel Jackson with Mason Ryan. I knew maybe individually they may suck, whatever, but I think maybe they could cancel each other out. They'd be a pretty intimidating
That'll be
tag
the
team.
longest 5-minute match ever.
Hey, maybe it's a better role for them than what they're doing now. But let's see. Up next is James from Kentucky.
Would John Cena have the amount of haters that he does if the internet did not exist?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Still, fans just they can kind of see through some characters and see through that now, especially when the character's shoved down the throat, especially babyface. I mean, Hogan was getting booed in the 90s and there's no internet. I think same thing happened to
Same
Cena.
thing. If you look at
There were dirt sheets, though. It's the same idea.
Oh,
if you look at Hogan 91, 92, he was getting booed. He wasn't
Right.
getting like the loud, loving cheers, and that's the same thing that's going on with John Cena right now. Internet or no internet, he would be getting booed.
I don't think it's many, but the dynamic will still be the same. There'll still be half the audience every night booing him.
And I think that's got to do with demographics, because the people that are booing him are the people our age. Because the Kids and the women, of course, they like him because he's hot or whatever. They don't know. This is his run is their first real big baby face. See, he's the Hogan for the kids, right? But for us, the people that stuck around, who still watch Monday Night every week, they went through the Hogan phase, rock and wrestling. They went through the Attitude. Now we're into PG. It's like we constantly say on the show, wrestling needs to change, evolve. And I think they're just backlashing against this guy that they perceive to be down their throats. I don't think internet has really anything to do with that.
Until he surprises us at the Royal Rumble.
Right. But up next is Delirious from the Edge of Sanity.
Lauren Taylor, Chris Harris, Bonnie Jambam, Tati Senago, Bottom, Kalangaro, and Tebola, Telaga,
Well, guys, I think I can handle this one.
Whoa! Orlando, Jackhouse, Orlando, Florida.
Why? Because you need a jizz right?
Oh my god.
I didn't say I was gonna promote. I said promo or stuff.
It's not even a cloth. Say you can do hot clams with that.
Hot clams. It's a hot clam.
I guess I shouldn't explain after, but it's when you're laying on your back. Where's Rodney? He would know.
I'm not scared right now.
And someone shits on your face, but you got glass over it.
That's not right.
I'll stick with jizz right.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. Support the show by going to the WrestlingRoundtable.com shop. You can get the Wrestling Roundtable t-shirt, Pro Wrestling Respect DVDs. You can even download Pro Wrestling Respect at GFL.tv. Support the show. We need your help because it's not cheap, free, and easy to do. So we put it out there for you. We're glad you enjoy it, but don't stay on YouTube. Go to WrestlingRoundtable.com, support the show. And joining the panel once again is Brett Midge Simonello. And we're going to go back to the Submission Round 5 Q&A, but that's all the questions we got. Suckers, what happened? So what we're doing now is we're going to ask our own questions. And first up is Will Vafides from the Wrestling Roundtable.
Hello, Wrestling Roundtable fans. TLD Will Vafides here. Glad to be here on this final season episode. Sorry I could not be a panelist on this final episode. Unfortunately, things happen. But the TLD Bear and I are here because we were so happy that Will Brooks finally understood that wearing TLD merchandise was the best thing for you to move on with your life. So Battle of the Wills was my victory this year. Very happy that Will Brooks stepped up and finally took the initiative to finally wear some TLD merch. So I appreciate that, Will Brooks. Good job. But what I wanted to come out here today was to ask a question to the panelists to see what their opinion was on this very question. The question is about the Raw Mystery General Manager. We never found out who that was, and it completely disappeared. So what I want to ask to you guys out there at the table, I want to ask if one, who should have been the Mystery Raw General Manager, and two, when was the best time that we should have revealed that? I'll see you folks next season. Love y'all.
Roddy Piper, and the week after Edge attacked the laptop, which is silly enough to watch, but I think Roddy Piper is someone who could just select few wrestlers is great heel and great face. I think he really brings that aspect that would draw viewers like us to watch. I think he's really great as far as refereeing old matches and storylines and bring them to present and really trying to help these young guys. I think Piper would have been interesting to watch.
We've seen the interaction we've had with guys just this past year and the year before with John Cena and the like, that he can really keep it modern and seem important. He adds levity to stuff.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites who was recently at the Slammy Awards, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and here's why. I would have wanted him to say, buy the right to be the GM from Vince McMahon or something like that in order to give his son Ted
TV time
and a push, which is something they didn't know what to do with him, or at least give him a reason. Like, hey, we're forcing him on you, so you're probably going to hate him, and he's probably going to be levitated just because of that.
John Laurinaitis at WrestleMania. He was the only guy I really could think of that had, I mean, like now they're bringing him in, he's basically doing the same thing anyway. But they could have done it a little sooner, at least would have killed that segment finally.
I don't know why it wasn't Mick Foley. I thought that was a sure thing.
Because he's on the contract with TNA.
Yeah, but he's back now. And I figured that was going to lead to it eventually. He was the GM in the past. But even if he's not there every week, he just makes special appearances now, here, and whatever. Couldn't they just have him tweet his rulings because they're so interested in Twitter now instead of emails? I think it could have worked even if he wasn't physically there in the building.
They could have had the bird from Snoopy be a new character, be the tweet.
Okay. Will Brooks asks, what was worse for TNA? Jeff Hardy's drugged up and short pay-per-view title match in the main event against Sting, or Robert Roode losing in the title match to Kurt Angle at Bound for Glory? What do you think, since you asked this question?
The one I was there for, Robert Roode at Bound for Glory, how they could have made a brand new star by having him beat the legitimate star of the last decade. But like, maybe even made him tap out, would have made him an instant star. You could have ran with that for the next 6 months, then did the whole jealousy, James Storm, Beal Money explodes angle, but they really dropped the ball on that one completely.
Jeff Hardy, I just think just from a PR standpoint for a company that's really trying to still find its brand and find its niche, having someone like that, it's such a risk and just bad for the company and the morale overall.
I mean, TNA is the most unpopular ride in Universal. It's just, whatever credibility it had, it shot it with Jeff Hardy and it threw it over the bridge with Robert Roode, so just put Velvet Sky on for the 2 hours and we'll be alright.
I think the Jeff Hardy incident was worse, and not even so much because it's Jeff Hardy. We already know his reputation, we know his behavior. He's made it pretty plain and clear the past several years. It's TNA's fault for hiring him in the first place, let alone putting him out there in that condition. If they didn't feel like he could really go and still put him out there, what the fuck? And the fact that they cut off the pay-per-view so early, the way they handled it, I don't even care if it was a 30-second pay-per-view main event. Fine, a surprise. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, as people seem to do. I think it was bad that they didn't take Mr. Anderson and RVD, who just won #1 contendership in a previous match that show, and make an impromptu three-way with Sting. I don't know why they didn't cover themselves with that. But anyway, Rodney asks, what was your most memorable Monday night watching wrestling?
July 1998, the night that Goldberg won the title from Hulk Hogan, because that night I was so into this match with the hype train that was behind Goldberg, finally coming in and getting the main event guys, and after he jackhammered Hogan, I sat there, I didn't sit there, but I did the count with the ref to make sure that he went to make sure. And it was such a memorable night, such a great feeling. I felt like I just beat Hogan. It was great, and there's been anything to top it since.
People always say WCW missed out on a huge payday by selling that on pay-per-view, but they only announced it a few days before, and the fact that they won the ratings that night, that everyone wanted to see it, and the fact that it's still being played on Monday night DVDs to this day, at least it was memorable, if nothing else.
Yeah. The night ECW reformed during the invasion, I remember I was cheering so loudly that I woke my parents up. ECW reformed, and just like you guys were talking about, like how all the mid-card guys ran in the ring, all of a sudden they turned around, then it hit you, oh shit, that's the Dudley Boys, oh shit, that's like, oh my god! And then you realize it was all ECW guys.
And then
it peaked right there, and then later that night, they formed with WCW to make the alliance, and that's when it started like to drip for me, but it peaked for me that night.
The real ECW invasion, back in Manhattan Center.
February 9th.
Oh yeah.
February 9th, when Taz came out, Sabu jumps off of the top of the symbol. Savio Vega got into it with Sandman. It was real then. It wasn't a bunch of guys under contract turning on their company. It was another company on Raw. It was unprecedented. It was Paul Heyman getting in the face of McMahon, and Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler hated Paul Heyman, and you saw it. It was just great
And it
television.
had a big fight at the end of it too.
It had that shock value. It had that, wow.
And it really made you think, as a WWF fan who'd pretty much grown up just watching that, when Paul Heyman said, "Has this show sucked except for ECW or what?" He was right. They made them look so outdated and square when they're putting on the fucking Godwins in an arm wrestling match with Marlena and Sonny. What the fuck?
The Eliminators just killed it with like the Ringo guy.
Tess just suplexed Mikey Whipwreck on his head. Dreamer and Devon were having a match with the chairs. It was unreal. But mine would have been, again, Hogan and Rock face-to-face on Monday Night Raw after No Way Out. February 2002, that was one of those, I'm on my feet watching this. Yep. Holy shit, I gotta call my friends.
Both of us involve Hogan.
Got the 10 minutes standing ovation.
Orlando asks, what TNA wrestler, if you were WWE, would you sign now?
Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, and I would undo the justice that TNA did to him. The hype that he had in 2005, and all of a sudden derailed, is really just such a crime, and I think WWF could really do, WWE could really do a lot with him. Samoa Joe, hands down.
Forget a tour bus. That should have been in Punk's new contract. Sign Joe as soon as you can, because there's nothing going on with him right now. They just taped Explosion this week, and his match with Chris Daniels, this used to be a pay-per-view main event, was on Explosion. They had nothing for him? Give me a break.
Really?
Let's end this farce and get him where he belongs.
Gotta have Velvet Sky over to put legitimacy into the women's division. You gotta bring Taz back to SmackDown.
The real reason is she's hot, which is enough for me.
I gotta love pigeons from Brooklyn. But Bobby Roode would probably make the biggest impact on WWE television and storylines. He's the only one I'd really want to see become an actual superstar.
Well, let me ask why, because we've talked about him on the show before, and people say he's like the Bret Hart of TNA, and I don't see it myself.
He's got the curly white hair.
Oh, and he's Canadian? I don't think that makes him the same.
Samoa Joe for everything Roddy just said, but also Matt Morgan. I think he's getting better and better. And he's a big guy, and he could work, and they could do a lot of stuff with him. I think he'd be a great addition.
Maybe it's not tough enough.
Why not?
Sting, Will Vafides, you're up.
This is a pretty big question because it's all about the new WWE network. Where do you see this network going in the next year? And is it quite possible that this network could really take off and actually become very profitable for the company? So I wanted to ask you guys that. We'll see you guys next season.
Network, is it going to work?
I think so. I think there are enough wrestling fans to watch WWE programming on a weekly basis that a network can be profitable. I think they have enough business sense to gain a lot of advertising. They have USA Network behind them. With the right programming, the right content, I think it could work. A lot of WWE fans are still so loyal to the product that they're going to support any venture that they go on often. And I think a network, especially if they put on a lot of classic matches and a lot of things that generate different fans at different times, as long as they get their programming to match their demographics, I think it'll work.
I think the advertising's a little iffy. We know how they don't get the big sponsors, unless M&M's is going to sponsor it.
One of the big aspects that they're going to have to worry about is getting the markets. They're going to need the big markets. They're going to need the New York market and the California market. They're going to need those big cities to get behind it, because much like Ring of Honor, a lot of big markets can't get it. So you can't appreciate it, and if you can't get it and you can't watch it, how are you going to support it? So they have to make sure they're in, at least all over the country, Canada, in the right demographics, not in some place in Kansas where mama with 3 teeth is watching.
I think it's going to work. There's plenty of niche channels out there that cater to like one aspect of thing, like sci-fi and like TLC and like all these channels. They have niche audiences. I'm pretty sure WF should find those as well.
Well, you see a lot of these channels start diversifying. Like Animal Planet is barely about fucking animals anymore, and Sci-Fi is getting away from sci-fi. They're showing wrestling and stuff. But I think it's a big gamble in a sense that they're putting a lot of eggs in their basket to get it off the ground soon. I don't know about the pay-per-view aspect of it, because I know they want to move all their pay-per-views there. They're not doing the numbers they used to, but it's probably going to piss off a lot of pay-per-view companies for the content that they're going to take away from that. So it can be a big gamble, but we'll see. I don't know why they would amass the biggest wrestling library in 10 years and put reality shows on it, but that's another thing. Last question from Rodney. If you could attend any mixed martial arts or pro wrestling event in history's past, what would you like to have been at?
I had 2. Number 1 is SummerSlam 91, because it's MSG. Great fucking card, top to bottom, and the crowd was hot. And number 2, WrestleMania 18. Be there for that Hogan Rock match, which they were on fire from beginning to end. Would have been insane to be there live, and I don't think anything would have matched that.
I agree with Rodney for the Hogan Rock match, just like it would have been fun from bell to bell. But mine was a real life regret that I had the chance to that I didn't go to was WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
You guys went to.
No, I didn't.
You didn't go to.
Mine's the same answer.
Yeah.
It's in our area, and I wasn't there.
It's
That
the biggest
kills me.
regret. Like, it's a train ride away. Why didn't you go? And then it
Mhm.
wound up being one of the most special events ever.
I would have loved to have been there to see Anderson Silva's last loss because I don't think it actually happened. I think it's an urban legend that like did not exist, and it's like Sasquatch. Some people have seen it, but can we take their word for it?
Well, he lost at the Rumble in the Rock in that bullshit disqualification against Okami, but he also lost in Pride too. So Pride would have been cool to go to in general. But as you were saying, is that it? Okay.
Well, I mean, wrestling-wise, I would love to have been at, like, say, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 10, because it was in RSG, or SummerSlam 90, because it was in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
You know?
Something rare,
Well,
like
no,
an Alex
even-
Kane victory. Something like
Or
that.
something, or actually, I would have loved to, because they're closing it down, I would have loved to have been to the first ECW pay-per-view at the Bingo Hall, because it's not that far from my house, but I was 12, 11 years old when it happened, so
It's
couldn't really
scary
go.
when you're 11 years old.
Exactly, but me now, and it was then, I would have loved to have gone.
Anderson Silva's in my answer too, because I would have loved to have been at UFC 117 when he got by the skin of his teeth against Charles Sonnen.
Yeah.
You saw me running around the room when that happened. I would have been running down the block. That was one of the greatest moments in MMA to me. But I also regret the local ones like WrestleMania 10. But I'll throw another one in there for you. Nassau Coliseum, SummerSlam 2002. That was in our area and one of the best, probably the best pay-per-view they've ever done. People say WrestleMania 17. I think SummerSlam 02. And that I really wish I could have been there for.
There's not enough public transportation.
Well, that's going to do it for our Q&A, and that's going to do it for the Wrestling Roundtable and our season. And last time we wrapped up season 3, I really didn't have much to say, and I felt kind of bad about it. I wasn't prepared. The first season, we ended off with saying WWE flagged one of our videos. Don't worry, we're going to regroup. We're going to stay around. We're not going to be shut down and get the truth, not on YouTube, which was our whole point. The second year, I compared Michael Jackson's death with Jeff Hardy's problems and how fans should rally behind wrestlers and support them and try and get them help. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of these guys, Jeff Hardy may be coming around, but like Scott Hall recently, ESPN did that piece on him. Some people just don't want to help themselves, and it really sucks because you can have a great support group and great friends and family, and that's what we're all about here at Wrestling Roundtable, because as much as we complain, we just want things to be better. Because deep down in our hearts, we're wrestling fans, we're mixed martial arts fans. Unfortunately, that only goes so far. People need to help themselves. And then I got to season 3, and I really didn't have anything. So for this one, frankly, I was really debating whether to say this was the last Wrestling Roundtable or not. And going into this, because, you know, Rodney, things are all over the place. People work, it's crazy schedules. But when we get here, we have fun. We like talking about MMA and pro wrestling, and you people seem to like it too. So I think Wrestling Roundtable is going to stick around for at least another year. I think the gloves are going to come off next year, so we're going to give it one more shot. But we need your support to keep going. We need you to comment, rate, share, subscribe, spread this around, and get other people joined in the community. And when you do so, you saw at the top of the show that this show was dedicated to the memory of Christopher Hitchens and Sidney Lumet. Sidney Lumet, and it's funny we talk about WWE Network, he directed a great movie in 1976 called Network. People make the comparison that this is what we're about. We're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. That's our attitude towards wrestling. Well, what I want you to do, if you're going to stick with Wrestling Roundtable, is to not be anti-thought, and here's what I mean. People say stuff like, just enjoy it. Sit back and just enjoy it. I turn my brain off when I tune into Monday night or when I go to a movie. And I don't like the idea. And it's not to say overanalyze or criticize or anything like that. Roger Ebert had a great response to this. He said, my brain is where I enjoy things. I'm not saying you have to watch it just like I do, but think for yourself. Now, when people say think for yourself, they usually mean agree with me, but I'm not saying that. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. We just re-uploaded our first show ever where we talked about Chris Benoit and the murders, and I was making the case for him to still be in the Hall of Fame. I was wrong. And when we had our talk, you really gave me pause, and after the show I thought about it again, and I really changed my mind. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. So the other thing I wanted to make a point about is there's nothing wrong with being questioned either. Question us. If you question my point of view, it makes me have to reinforce my stance. It makes it stronger, and it can give me pause. It can maybe think about maybe something I didn't think about before. So just be open-minded and don't be anti-thought. Now, don't mistake knowledge and wisdom. Ignorance is not bliss, because you have to vote with your wallet, and knowledge is power. But knowledge and wisdom are two different things. Where you want to be is where we are, right in the middle. Kind of like the MasterCard logo. UFC, WWE, pro wrestling, MMA, two different things, but there is that middle ground, and we hope that's where you meet us next year. In 2012, when we start season 5, whenever that might be, stay with us, updated on WrestlingRoundtable.com, and don't stay here on YouTube. We're all over the place. Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Go Fight Live, YouTube, as we are here, Facebook, Twitter, that's what I was trying to think of, thank you. Twitter, so join Wrestling Roundtable and we'll all keep the discussion going. We're not going anywhere as far as radio and the website, so just because the season's over doesn't mean we're done. Let's keep it going. So for the panel of Orlando O'Neill, Brett Midge Ciminello, Rodney LeConte, Grizzly Redwood, Will Brooks, our special guest Delirious, I'm Eric Santamaria. Thank you and join us next year. And on WrestlingRoundtable.com. Hey Rodney.
Definitely not a PG show.
You know what hot clams are?
No.
We're the only ones.
What?
I said you should do hot clams with that shit.
Hold on, what is it?
Literally.